Today I want to talk about some of the things I wish I knew before starting to create my Book of Shadows. And I just want to preface by saying that at the end of the day, it is your book. So take what resonates from this video, leave what doesn't. I just know that I have regrets, major regrets, about how I approached my nice Book of Shadows because I had gotten it at the very beginning of my journey and I just started writing in it with zero plan. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, I just want to explain what a Book of Shadows is. The term Book of Shadows is typically used by people who identify as witches, but you don't have to be. You can identify as pagan or mystic or just spiritual. It is the place where you put all of your notes, your research, dream interpretation, angel number interpretation, your tarot spreads, journaling, shadow work, things like that. There are two different terms that this can go by. The most popular and I guess most universal one is Book of Shadows, but you can also call it your Book of Light. That's what I do. I kind of use them interchangeably. Sometimes I'll call it a Book of Shadows, sometimes I'll call it a Book of Light, or I'll even shorten it to BOS. So throughout this video, I'll be using those terms interchangeably: Book of Shadows, Book of Light, BOS, and BOL. And I wanted to also explain that it is different from a grimoire. A witch's grimoire is basically like a recipe book. They can be literal cooking recipes or they can be spell instructions, but that's all it's really for. You don't really put journaling and interpretations and notes and things like that in a grimoire. Traditionally, a Book of Shadows has a lot more in it and it's a lot more versatile. So here is my lovely book that I ordered literally 2 weeks after discovering that I had been a witch my whole life. I've been spiritual my whole life and it wasn't until 5 summers ago, this is my 5th summer anniversary of my journey, that I really started honing my own gifts and researching different religious and spiritual paths and practices. But okay, basically, I'm gonna open this up for you guys. So I had a protective incantation on the front cover. I was transitioning between Christianity and paganism. For a while, I considered myself a Christian witch, and there are actually a lot of Christian witches out there, but that personally doesn't resonate with me anymore. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is take one of these pages or literally do sort of like a paper mache type of situation, cover this up, and do a new incantation that suits what resonates with me most now. So that's the first thing, and as you can see, you can probably see like all these holes. I had ripped out some pages because what happened is that I tried to rip out just a couple pages, but then because they were all kind of sewn together with this string, it started ripping apart the other pages. When I tried to, I should have just taken a pair of scissors now that I look back, but again, this is years ago. I just started ripping it and it started to ruin all the other pages. So recently I had to take out 2 entire sections worth, and so now there's like this gap. Whoa, more stuff fell out. As you can see, when I close the book, there's like this gap. I kind of wish the gap was in the back of the book so that I could sort of like maybe put a little box folder thingy that you see in certain notebooks at the store and put papers and pictures, maybe amulets and stuff like that in there. But it's okay. I think I'll still do that. I like that idea, and just have it be at the front of the book instead. And so basically, like I had said, I didn't come into this with any sort of plan, so I just started writing stuff in like a super random order. One page was a spell, another page was a Sabbath celebration, another page was numerology, another page was like New Year tarot poll. Like everything was just so random. And when I want to make something that looks nice, I usually take my time with my handwriting, because if I just write willy-nilly, it looks, I don't know if you can tell, but I don't have like a very good handwriting. Like, bruh, look at this. It's like, what? So just everything about the details, the order of the content, and how like random everything was, I just didn't like it. So now finally I want to get into those tips. So first off, have a junk BOS first. When my friend told me about this, I thought it was so cool. Basically, you take a normal spiral notebook that you would get, you know, super cheap at the store, and make sure you dedicate it to your practice. But with this book, it's not nearly as high stakes as what your nice BOS would be. you can be messy with this. You can write whatever you want in whatever order. You don't have to make it pretty. Especially with me, sometimes when I channel messages as a psychic medium, I close my eyes and my writing is like really kind of like going off the page and gets all crazy and stuff. This is a really amazing tool that you can use for your exploration, your research. And this kind of leads me into point and tip number 2, which is practice for a while and see what spells, ways to celebrate Sabbats, rituals, etc. really resonate you and bring you amazing results. Because those are the things that you'll want to include in your nice Book of Shadows. I actually have quite a few junk BOSs at this point, and I am definitely gonna go back through all of them and see which things I wrote down that I definitely want to include in my nice Book of Shadows. And so tip number 3 is to plan out what you want to put in your nice BOS in an organized way. What I did is I made this nice little index card of all the things that I want to include in there. And then later on, after sort of like brainstorming all the good things, you can put it in an order that makes sense. Tip number 4 is, I guess, a more personal thing. I advise you to only include timeless things in your nice BOS. Save all of your long entries, such as channeling, shadow work, tarot spread interpretations, reflections, and things like that, for your junk BOS. The things that you're going through currently that might take up a lot of pages. I'm referring to the timeless point as a more personal thing because I want my Book of Shadows to be sort of a legacy item for future generations. So if you also like that vibe and you want your nice BOS to show for your life's work and your journey, then I would suggest definitely keeping that content timeless. I'll give you some examples from my own new plan that I wrote on my note card. So I don't think these are in any particular order, but I'm gonna read what's on here. Okay, so I have ways to cleanse, banish, attract, and protect, my personal story and my intentions with my BOS, my best and most used spiritual and sacred tools, and how to use them, the dimensions and what sorts of entities live within each, books, mentors, best spells, ways to celebrate the Sabbats, which I should have said this earlier. If you don't know what a Sabbat is, it's basically the way that witches, pagans, mystics, however you identify yourself, celebrate the wheel of the year, honoring the natural flows of nature. We have the solstices, the equinoxes, and a couple of things in between. And these traditions go way back to ancient times. Each Sabbat has their own deity associations, colors, plants, animals, and especially depending on what culture you most resonate with, there are so many ancient perspectives that are under the paganism umbrella. So maybe you do have connections to your roots. Maybe your family has been practicing certain things this whole time. But anyway, basically what I'm trying to say is whatever resonates with you most, whether it directly comes from your family or you see other people doing it, or you go to a group circle that's celebrating it, you can take pieces of that and create your own way of celebrating each Sabbat. So write that down. Some other stuff on my little plan note card is all the places I keep records. So like I said, I have a number of junk BOSs and I also have quite a few files on my external hard drive and my Google Drive. So I need to take note of what sorts of things are where for sure. I'm also going to spend quite a lot of time talking about thoroughness, protection, what you align to, how you set up for a ritual, how you clean up after, the integration period and possible symptoms that may come up while you're adjusting to your healing, manifestation, intentions, your work, and magical timing too. And so finally, my last tip is to have fun. Have fun with your handwriting, little decorations, maybe washi tape and stickers and different colored pens or markers, and helpful little side notes in the margins that you wish you knew earlier on in your journey. Like I said, maybe you can pass it down to your children one day if you want to have them or adopt them in the future. Or I could honestly even see you being the old lady or man in your neighborhood and you get a vibe from somebody walking by. You hand them the book and you're like, this is your destiny. And they're like, this is what I've been waiting for. And then that's divine intervention at its finest. You were meant to give them that book. Literally, the choice is yours. Follow your intuition. Or keep it forever in a fancy chest or something to have archaeologists dig up millions of years from now. There's so many possibilities. And so that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this, found it helpful, please go ahead and give it a like. Wishing you a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.